After years of being underfunded, in 2010, the ICAC program received $75 million in federal funding, with $50 million awarded through the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009. And they've been able to go after these guys with a lot of that money. It's just a wildly successful program. Prior to the development of this particular software, the best thing that law enforcement had going for it were sting operations. They would get somebody on an internet, set up a profile saying I'm a little guy or I'm a little girl, as much as they did on the To Catch a Predator programs that they showed on Dateline for many years. So this has really taken them a long way and put them in a very good place. And you see, I mean, the thing is that 624,000 of these guys, they are absolutely everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. I know my wife works in real estate, and realtors are supposed to disclose information that they know about neighborhoods, so they're told not to go on the Megan's Law website because they're bound to find somebody on the Megan's Law website, and then they're bound by law to disclose it to potential buyers. But if anybody were to pay any attention to this and actually look at what's going on, you'll find that these characters are in every neighborhood. There's probably not a neighborhood in America that doesn't have some sex offenders in it. We routinely get involved in cases where little kids are walking to school unaccompanied, and routinely there will be 100 registered sex offenders living within just a few blocks of them. And these guys aren't all the worst of the worst, but about 10% are. About 10% are, and about 10% are easily able to snatch these kids or find other ways to exploit them or abuse them. So I think that ICAC is a very good thing, and what they're doing is a very good thing. Now, this is my absolutely favorite slide in this. More than 12 million of the funding, the ICAC funding, supported training, technical assistance, and research, key elements in refining and strengthening the effectiveness of the ICAC program. Now, unfortunately, the governor of Florida is trying to kill ICAC in his state by cutting funds from the budget. It's just absolutely unbelievable. So successful, yet this guy thinks that somehow he's doing his state a favor by cutting the funding. I guess Governor Scott thinks it's okay to treat children like they're expendable. The photos here are of a guy named Bernie Ward. Bernie Ward was an ordained Roman Catholic priest. Bernie Ward was also a former San Francisco talk radio personality. Bernie Ward also ragged me to death on his radio show. He would take any position but a position that I had. If he would invite me onto his show, he would cut me off and then do everything he could to humiliate and embarrass me. Well, on September 20th, 2007, the Lion of the Left, as he liked to call himself, was indicted by a grand jury on 2 federal counts of attempting to distribute and 1 count of receiving child pornography via the Internet between 2004 and 2005. If you want to talk to Bernie Ward, he's now known as inmate number 90569-111. And I wrote him a letter and told him that finally I get to use him in one of my presentations. So, this sucker, man, it was awful. The day that Paulie's kidnapper was convicted, Violet and I were riding in a car, and here's what the guy did. Here's what the kidnapper did. He said, just before he was sentenced to death, he said, "Your Honor, I know I didn't rape that little girl because she said to me, 'Don't do me like my dad.'" He said that in an open courtroom. Absolutely unreal. You know what I did? I heard my mother. She was going, "Oh," like that. And I thought, the son of a bitch, he killed my kid. Now he's going to kill my mother. So I stood up. And I kind of made a move. I was surrounded by 6 bailiffs within seconds. And the judge said, "Remove that man from the courtroom." And then he said, "No, remove him from the courthouse." Me, the aggrieved father, getting kicked out of the courthouse because this guy. So anyway, we're driving around, going somewhere, I don't know. And Bernie Ward's on the radio, and he goes, "Well, why shouldn't we believe what Richard Allen Davis says?" Dude, I mean, come on, man. I mean, pile it on, guy. So anyway, I'm really glad to see that Bernie has been busted. It was way worse than what he pled down to. I mean, there were thousands of images, and he was talking about, you know, having sex with his own kids with people in chat rooms and stuff like that. Yeah, really oily. Yeah, you make that face, man. It's unbelievable. Yeah. Pig. I digress. I'm sorry. The growing use of social networking websites by California's youth places minors at greater risk of being solicited by sex offenders. According to a report published in 2008, 93% of America's youth ages 12 to 17 use the internet, and 58% of those kids have created a social networking site profile, and nearly half of those kids use this form of communication to develop new friends. In 2008, the state of New York addressed this very issue and enacted the Electronic Security and Targeting of Online Predators Act, also known as eStop. To date, this bill has resulted in the removal of 11,721 profiles associated with 4,336 dangerous sexual predators registered in the state of New York. Now, that's out of about 29,000 offenders that you have in New York. In California, we have 100,000. So we're working right now. We're going to have our first committee meeting, in fact, the week after I get back. We're trying to modernize California's Sex Offender Registration Act to protect the safety and well-being of California's children. And one advantage we have now that eStop did not have in New York is the fact that Facebook's totally on board with it. They think it's a good piece of legislation. So we're going to try to enact it in California and then see what we can do to take it around the country. We figured that if we've got Facebook, who's bigger than a nation anyway, they've got more profiles and we have people, that we could probably take this to somebody in the federal system and see if we might be able to upgrade the entire system's Megan's Law. I'm not quite sure the mechanism for doing that. It would probably have to be a funding mechanism. Sometimes that works, as in the original Megan's Law. Sometimes that doesn't work, as in the Adam Walsh situation, or the Adam Walsh Act. Now, putting the home computer in the living room so that you can monitor your child's online activity does not address 21st century reality. First, most kids are far more tech savvy than their parents. They can easily circumvent NetNanny and other blocking software. In today's wireless world, they are able to access the internet on their cell phones, on their PDAs, on their laptops, on their tablets. They can go to their friends' houses. They can go to cafes. They can go to Starbucks. They can go to the library. So it's impossible for parents to be able to monitor this kind of activity. As has been discussed we didn't stay for the entire sexting seminar, but as was mentioned, kids are going to engage in reckless behavior. We know that. We need to protect them from that. We need, as adults, to be able to find ways to keep these kids safe when they go online. There are some great strategies out there. The Operation Fair Play strategy of going directly to the computers and bringing the pornographers in for arrest is an absolutely marvelous strategy. But to talk to our kids, to start at the kitchen table and have conversation with our kids about acceptable behavior, about doing the right thing, about not putting yourself out there too far, is another good thing that we can do. Getting the ISPs involved so that they have to report, so that there's mandatory reporting, as was mentioned earlier, I think would be a very acceptable pursuit. Although currently there's only about 7 states that actually that actually mandate that ISPs and other IT professionals that become aware of this kind of activity of pornography or other kind of amoral activity regarding children on the internet are supposed to report. So there's a long ways to go there. But we certainly can't put it on the shoulders of the kids. I guess that's really what I'm trying to say. With today's advanced technology, the ease with which a person can move from viewing child pornography to producing and distributing child pornography is illustrated in numerous cases. Advances in computer memory storage, the speed of downloading and uploading, and advances in file sharing technologies make it very easy to quickly transfer or receive large volumes of child sex abuse images. Numerous technologies are used by offenders, including P2P networks, internet relay chat, news groups, bulletin boards, photo sharing sites, and social networking sites, among others. Experts posit and common sense suggests that the accessibility to this material online draws new offenders to the crime. And again, the proliferation of this kind of activity is just unending, and we've turned our back on it for an awful long time. Now, what are we going to do? We certainly have to do something, ladies and gentlemen. There is no silver bullet that will end cybercrimes against children. Legislation alone will not end cybercrimes against children. By itself, technology will not contain evil intent. Law enforcement will never totally eradicate the black heart of a predator. Education and awareness in the classroom or at home helps, but we should never put the burden on the shoulders of the kids. The internet is here to stay. It affords tremendous benefits and enables monumental abuses. If we're going to ensure that the World Wide Web does not become a virtual wild, wild west, we have to aggressively engage those who would abuse it. But by linking arms and working toward a common goal, we can ensure that our kids' online experience is empowering, positive, and safe. Now, I'm willing to take any questions that anybody might have.